All right, welcome back. Episode 3, kicking it off across the bridge. We appreciate all the love we've seen so far. Continue to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll keep bringing this great content. But first, just want to check in with you, bro. How you doing?
It's doing great, man. Doing great. Sitting here, just got in from a daughter little school event, reading activity that's up there. All the children running around, took out to dinner. So dad life.
Yeah, I seen I actually retweeted this on my stories the other day. But the dude was like, this is the number one father generation, something like that.
I think you posted that.
Yeah, but just thinking about I think as a whole, for sure, I think we're holding ourselves accountable, to be in our children's lives. I had both my parents. I know your dad was around in your life and things of that nature, but it's cool to see how involved we are. And I know me and you were talking one day, you talking about joining PTA or what's that called? A PTA?
Yeah, I mean,
stuff like that. I just think it's dope. Jace just turned 3, got him in martial arts. He started martial arts Monday, I believe. So that's been an interesting experience.
I always said that, man. A couple years ago, I said something hit me. I was like, and it's my belief that we are the most important generation of melanated parents because of the technology, the understanding of history, and what we can understand in history. We don't have the excuse of, we didn't know, like our parents may have had. The climate and the culture is different than it was for our parents who grew up in the 60s and grandmama and them who grew up in the 30s, like growing up in the 90s and understanding what the life was like before the internet and living with it. I think it's imperative that we take our role as parents very seriously and get involved in our children's lives on every level, you know what I'm saying, in and out the home, So, yeah, I could dig that. I agree with that tweet you posted.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're definitely just the next generation in line for leadership. It still is a foreign territory, right? Like even with all the technology, what do we do with it? We've never seen it before as far as an example. So it's still new, but I think it's a challenge we're up for. And this is an example of doing that.
Right.
So yeah, man. Let's go ahead and kick it off, man. I wanted to introduce a new segment. We'll try to bring this occasionally, but it's going to be pretty much tied to the name of the show. So we want to take you across the bridge and just an opportunity to bridge between, what you think about something and what you end up learning. So today I want to take y'all across the bridge and visit Rich Paul. So Rich Paul is currently a force when it comes to sports agencies. So the CEO or founder of Clutch Sports. Most people are familiar with Rich Paul, as I was, through the relationship with LeBron James. But I picked up his book, or actually my dad bought me his book for Christmas. It was a Christmas gift, and I decided to read it this month.
Shout out to Pops.
Yeah, 10-4. So he bought me the book, man, and I decided to read it this month. I'm almost done with it. I'll probably finish it by Saturday. But I learned a lot, man, and it introduced me to a whole new perspective, something I want to do a deeper dive on Paul or Rich Paul. But I just want to share a few things that I took away so far in the book. But first, what caught me off guard was his lifestyle growing up. So I didn't know his mom was essentially on crack, right? So his mom was in and out of his life due to that drug and that sickness. So he, from a young age, like 7, I believe, he was out there in the mix. So that was something that really caught me off guard, and just hearing that perspective, being somebody who grew up with a 2-parent household, not experiencing my mom or dad on drugs. That was an interesting perspective to just take in from the beginning. But 3 things that stood out to me. 1, how important a father is in the home. So we just touched on that, right? And how we have that responsibility and how we're shining in that. But his dad was a huge factor, man. Taught him respect, So his dad was like the local businessman, had a store, whether it's the dope dealers, whether it was the blue collar worker or children, everybody came to his store, had a place to operate, whether it's from a fun standpoint, whether it's buying merchandise, whatever it was. But it taught Rich Paul how to show people respect and how to observe different characters and manage lifestyles. He taught him accountability. So it was a point in high school where he wanted to flunk out of a kind of like a school like we went to go back to the neighborhood school. Rich Paul was like, man, I'm gonna get a 1.2 GPA, so they kicked me out. His dad found out, and he it was funny. He was in a car ride with him, right? And he was like, yo, Rich, do you know who Marvin Gaye is? And he was like, yeah. He's like, you know how he died? You know how Marvin Gaye died?
Yeah, daddy killed him.
Yeah. So he was like, his father killed him. And he was like, he ain't spent no jail time. So he said, if you don't get your stuff right, I'm not going to do any jail time. And I was like, word. So it's that accountability piece, right? To let them know, like, look, man, if you don't get your stuff together, you're going to end up like Marvin Gaye, and I ain't going to do no jail time for it. So he said from that moment, he was like, man, I knew my dad was serious. He carried that 38. He was like, from that point on, I never had lower than a 3.6 GPA. And it transitioned his mind to always want the best for himself, whether that was from an education standpoint or in his street activity he was doing, and now to what he was doing, you know, in his sports agency. So respect, accountability, and then that discipline factor. The father was something that was important throughout that book. Two, develop your craft and your skills. So as you think about what activities and what opportunities you've been blessed with, really honing in on it. So for him, he shot dice, and he got so good to where he can hold the dice in his hand and recognize what numbers his thumbs was holding, which numbers were on the sides, and what were the probabilities based on the type of asphalt or carpet or whatever he was rolling on that allowed him to maximize his ability as a young kid. And then now, of course, as an agent, you know, being able to dominate the sports realm as a young Black man in a space that's usually unfamiliar for us. The third one, before I just kind of transition to our main topics today, how you grow up is how you view the world, right? I thought that was so interesting, right? Like him growing up in that environment where his mom was on drugs, didn't necessarily feel the love from her. He was in a tough environment. You know, he was in the streets at a young age, and now transitioning into the sports realm, the business world. That same perspective on how he viewed it growing up is now he is able to attack that business world. And I think that's something that really stands out, just to reflect back on, like, how did I grow up? How do I view the world? And how does that impact how you move throughout life? So check out his book, Lucky Me, Rich Paul. I'm definitely going to do some more homework on his business acumen and how he's operating within the industry, and really bring that perspective to the show, because I think it's super important to touch on and the impact that he's making. But I just want to take y'all across the bridge just to kick off the show as a new segment. And with that, we're going to transition into the Jaguars.
Oh, damn.
All right. So y'all know I love the Jaguars, but they've been a trending topic right now, man. Have you been paying attention to this?
No, I have. You know, I've been paying attention to this nonsense. Go ahead. Go keep on.
So let me catch y'all up real quick, right? So the Jaguars supposed to have the best season. We talked about this the last show. The best season on earth. They go 4-13. Off season kicks off. They fired their Super Bowl head coach, Doug Peterson. They didn't say, hey, we're going to interview 10 people, 10 coaches, right? 3 of the 4 top coaches get hired by other teams. One, the person they actually want to hire decides he doesn't want to take the position and goes back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, cool. That's a bad sign. A couple hours later, they fire their GM, Trent Baalke, and then actually bring back the guy who turned him down to hire him as a coach, Liam Coen. Did you hear about this guy prior to the coaching search?
No, not at all.
Never heard of this dude.
Not at all.
Never heard of this dude. So they hire Liam Coen. This guy does his press conference and now turns into the world meme, right? just crucifying this guy in the news. He looked pretty crazy, but
He
I ain't
look
gonna lie.
weird. Dude look so weird,
You
man.
gotta look. He remind me of Adam Gates. I'm gonna have to post a side by side, but Adam Gates and him definitely at the top of like the weirdest introduction press conferences. But nevertheless, man, I want to ask you, what do you make of this whole hiring process? What do you make of the coach, and what do you expect from the Jaguars with this new leadership?
So, what do I make of it? Pat McAfee put it best. He's speaking of it, saying he think the Jaguars pretty much like the laughing stock of the NFL once again. You pretty much let everybody know in front of the whole world why you on a live stream with the then GM Trent Baalke that you would fire him if a coach wanted him fired. He told him he would fire him
Yeah.
after just telling Liam Coen that he gonna keep Baalke. So you got a guy from outside the organization who never had any head coaching experience. You fire your GM, which he should have been fired, but you fired him because the guy you had in office said he don't want the job as long as he's here. You let him go home, and then you reconsider, and then you fire him. That ain't the most Jacksonville Jaguar thing to do. Like, what he doing is starting to look worse than Wayne Weaver, man, and the guys before him. It's just showing that he really still, talking about Shad Khan, don't have a real understanding of the football business. Like, he understands business and making money, but as far as producing and winning in football, he still got a ways to go. I believe in Shad Khan's ability to want to spin, but he just don't know what the hell he doing, and it shows on all levels. My thing with Liam Coen is his resume, man. He in every spot for 1 year. Like, he everywhere he's been, he's there for 1 year. And I read an interview where he says that the Buccaneers let him get his feet wet as a coordinator. I'm like, that's not even true for your own resume because the Rams had you as a coordinator. So they gave you the opportunity first with Sean McVay. Then he left and went to college and came back to the Rams again. Then he went to Buccaneers and now here. I'm just like, I don't believe in it. I told you, I don't believe in nothing they do, man. It don't make sense. Trevor Lawrence is on his third head coach, which usually doesn't bode well for a young quarterback to be your third coach and you're under your first rookie contract. I mean, I guess I understand, with the offense probably being the strongest part of the team to go hire your offense coordinator. But once again, like I always say, man, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a unique franchise. You can't be comparing them to the Buccaneers and to the Rams and all the people like that because those are winning franchises who know what it's like and know what it takes to win. The Jaguars haven't won. They don't know what it's like to win. I believe they needed an experienced guy who had, success leading a team from the top, not from a coordinating perspective. So like I said, I don't like it. It is what it is, though. I mean, who else could they have gotten? I was for Steve Spagnuolo. I don't even know if he's looking for a position. They had to wait a little bit longer after the Super Bowl. So we're going to see, man. But I don't like it. This is Jaguars. I'll let you have the floor. You the super fan, not me.
Yeah, so I'm delusional, of course. So I'm like, man, I believe in this guy.
Right. Like most of the Jaguar fans are showing, which is another thing that pisses me off about the Jaguars. But go ahead.
I can't really say it with a straight face, of course, but I do think I explained last time I really don't care, honestly. Right. I don't care. I don't believe they'll make the right decision. I didn't believe they'll make the right decision. I actually think this makes sense, right? To just validate the foolishness that goes on with this organization. Again, I don't understand why you're going to hire or pick from a list of 10 candidates unless that's some type of DEI,
that's
responsibility.
Funny you say that right now. That's funny you say that right now.
I don't know what it was about, but honestly, it's just a clear sign the organization has no clear direction. The owner doesn't really understand the business of football, and there's no one really to hold that situation accountable. When it does become a situation that's clear, defined, there's a position of accountability and respect there. I think we really can turn the page. But until then, we'll be a laughing stock. We'll have a coach who's not prepared to give the chant for the city and embarrass himself and now become a meme. Before his first anything, he's now a meme. He's a joke. right? I turn on every broadcast. They clowning the Jaguars.
Right.
You got Dan Orlovsky talking about Trevor Lawrence need to ask for a trade to
To the
Tennessee,
Tennessee Titans.
right? What you mean into the division to the Tennessee Titans? What have they done recently that makes you think, that's the place to be?
But check this out. Don't mean interrupt. Check you out. When he said that, right? When he first said that, I was on the phone with one of the comrades, and I said, "Look, that might be a good thing in the space of going after a coach being Dion." I said that'd be a perfect spot. Trade number one pick. You call Dion and say, "Hey, look, we'll take Shador number one. We'll take Shiloh somewhere else. We'll give you the keys to the city. We'll name this place Dion County, and you can run with it. You can run with that." When Dan Orlovsky said, I was like, "That's not a bad idea if the Titans want it." But I'm pretty sure the Jaguars and Shad Khan thought nothing about it. But can you imagine what would have happened had Dion been hired? Right? Without whatever, it would have turned everything up. But it sure wouldn't have been this shit we just saw with this dude, the way he said Duuval. Like, everybody's posting that in the city. Like, everybody said the same thing. Like, what is this? What is that?
Look, man, I live in North Carolina. I go to work. I'm being clowned. People posting the image of this dude in chats.
This dude look crazy.
Knowing they talking to me, asking me what is this? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a joke. I can't go nowhere. Everybody know I'm from Jacksonville.
Terrible.
Everybody know I'm delusional about the team. And they just clowning me, man. So I'm honestly over it. I'm sick of it. But I see a bright future. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. I believe Trent Baalke was a disaster to be here. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a bright spot in this opportunity, is that hiring Liam Coen actually forced Shad Khan to let go of this. I don't want to disrespect the man, but they let go of the GM, and I think the general manager is responsible for the type of talent that we bring in and who we hire. And he just wasn't a good fit based on past history, how they describe him in the NFL, and coaches turning down the opportunity to actually come coach, right? To take on a head coaching job. Nah, I'm good.
I never seen nothing like this, bro. I've never seen anything like this.
No, I'm good.
Maybe
That dude here, I'm good. I'm good. I prefer not to take the job. Oh, you gone? Oh,
right.
Oh, sign me up, bro. I'm back.
That's so crazy.
I think that's just a clear sign, and I think that's positive, right? So that's the first step. The second step is whoever they plan to bring on as the general manager. I'm here. I'm available if y'all want me. I'll put my application in.
Right.
Whoever they bring on, ideally, will be in line with the coach, right? And what I do like is you mentioned this recently, right? You talked about who's the quarterback from the Seattle Seahawks?
Geno Smith.
The Baker Mayfields, right? You compare Trevor Lawrence to that type of caliber QB, and Liam Coen is somebody who was able to work with Stafford, right? He was able to work with Baker Mayfield and produce these high numbers. I don't know if we have the same type of offense, but I believe we have the capable talent, right? We have two great running backs that are capable, right? That match the running backs that were in Tampa. We have a BTJ. We have a Kirk that can come off an injury. Maybe we can draft or sign another capable wide receiver. We have a capable tight end. So I believe with demonstration from the offenses that he's been able to produce, he's somebody that can lead the offense. He can put up some points, and then just certify our defense with a quality defensive coordinator. My arrows are pointing up, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm delusional, but I look forward to see how the season turns out. But I'm going to always fall back and hedge my bet. I really don't care. So we'll see what happens. But that's how I feel about this foolishness. It's terrible how it started, but that just means it's up from here.
How you start is how you finish, man.
All right, man. Well, we'll see what happens. The good news is the guy is out, Trent Baalke, and he knows how to say Duuval now. So we'll go back. We'll just move forward with that. Sticking to the Jaguars, though. My favorite player, the GOAT, Fred Taylor, right? Finally in position to potentially be named a Hall of Famer, which he's righteously due, right? I think it's about time we put this guy in the Hall of Fame. We see what he's doing on the pivot, right? Like, the talent has just always been there. He always going to be a star, whether it's on the football field or not. I have some reasons, but I want to hear from you. What are the credentials that you believe on why he should or should not make the Hall of Fame?
He should not make the Hall of Fame because I don't believe, one, he's famous in the realm of football outside of Jacksonville Jaguars.
What?
I think it's something some people always say, can you tell the story of the NFL with or without this guy? Unfortunately, with him being on the Jaguars, you can tell the story of the NFL without Fred Taylor and without most of the Jacksonville Jaguars players throughout their tenure being a team. A lot of people around the city are always crying about Fred Taylor. And I said, Jimmy Smith has more of a argument to be in the Hall of Fame than Fred Taylor, based upon what he did on the football field consistently, being here, not being injured. During his time, I think he was the most productive offensive player on the team during the run. And the main thing I say with Fred Taylor is the reason I say he's not a Hall of Famer is because of who also is not in the Hall of Fame as well as an NFL running back. I got the list in front of me. So I get all my stuff stats wise from Pro Football Hall of Fame, Pro Football Reference. They have the average Hall of Fame running back formula, which is a computer calculation, right? So Fred Taylor does not hit the average, which is 107 points. He is at 55.4. Not in the Hall of Fame is Ricky Waters, Sean Alexander, Tiki Barber, Priest Holmes, Ward Dunn, Jamal Lewis, Eddie George, Steven Jackson, all these names. With all of those names who are not in the Hall of Fame, I can't say that Fred Taylor should be in the Hall of Fame because I don't see a reason why he would be in over them. Sean Alexander was an MVP of the league. Priest Holmes set an NFL record when he had like 30 touchdowns in one season. Ward Dunn is a Super Bowl champion. Fred Taylor's not a Super Bowl champion. He never made All-Pro. He made Pro Bowl one time. Never led the league in rushing. Never touchdowns. I don't think he ever had over 1,600 yards in the season. You know, he had the yards per carry, which is big, but you never was the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guy in the NFL in your time there. Jamal Lewis was a 2,000-yard rusher, being the only offensive threat for the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? You got Tiki Barber, Super Bowl winning champ, consistent, 55 touchdowns, 10,000 yards. Like, I don't see how you can put Priest Holmes, how you can put Fred Taylor in Super Bowl on everybody else that's not there. I don't believe that Fred Taylor deserves it because of the work he's doing on the pivot. I think he might end up getting in, actually. Not this year, but eventually because of I think the pivot and everybody saying he should get in, might get him in. But as far as on the – look, man, I'm gonna say this and I'm going to let you go, right? There's like 1, 2, 3. It's about 20 to 25 running backs in the Hall of Fame. The ones who came in with him, you got LaDainian Thomas, who came in around that time, Marshall Faulk, Terrell Davis, Adrian James, Jerome Bettis. Like, we know those guys. We know the bus. We know who the bus is in Jacksonville, in Seattle. They know about him. You know who Adrian Peterson is. You know LaDainian Thomas. You know what these guys have done. MVPs. Fred Taylor is not in that category. He's just not there. I mean, I'm sorry. I hate to say it. I'm not hating on Fred Taylor, but he just don't have it. He don't have it, man.
I just want to make sure I'm clear, man.
Right.
Is he gonna get into the Hall of Fame or not? Because I'm hearing you saying he don't got the
credentials. I don't think he deserves, but I'm just sitting here saying how this new world works. How we in this very sympathetic, let's just award everybody second place trophies type world we living in now. They may give it to him, but if he goes in the Hall of Fame before Ricky Waters, Sean Alexander, Tiki Barber, Priest Holmes, Ward Dunn, Jamal Lewis, how can you justify that?
Are you saying he's getting into the Hall of Fame? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
He should not be in the Hall of Fame. That's what I'm saying. He should not be in it. He shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
But he will get in.
And if he gets in, it's on some second place. People are vouching for me on this pivot. That's why.
Okay. I have one more question. Are you from Jacksonville?
Yep.
I don't believe so.
Why not?
Because I mean, my gosh, man, and can't nobody get love from you in Jacksonville.
Hey, you gotta earn it. I don't give you nothing. I don't give you shit. You gotta earn it.
Okay, I'll tell you how you earned it. All right, here we go.
Okay.
So I am biased. Fred
Okay.
Taylor is one of my favorite, if not my favorite NFL player. Right, the
Right.
dude was the real deal at Florida. That's why I'm a Florida Gator fan. He had the
Terrible.
21 with the visor. The dude was just, hey, Fred Taylor the one, man. He comes to Jacksonville, right? So you talk about a franchise that just came into the league, expansion league, one of their first top draft picks, right? And he helped build this organization. So when you think about the story of the NFL, can you tell the story of the NFL without mentioning the NFL teams, right? So could you talk about NFL team, considering Jacksonville's the NFL team? Could you tell the story of Jacksonville without Fred Taylor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about why I believe he has Hall of Fame credentials.
Okay.
I will give you a couple points, right? So you mentioned injuries. He was known as Fragile Fred, right? So somebody who
Terrible.
played a 12-year career, but yes, he was limited by injuries. And I think that does put a little asterisk when you think about.
And the city of Jacksonville gave him that name. Let's not leave that out. The fans gave him that name.
Yeah, because we understood how valuable he was to the team and an opportunity to produce a winning culture and to win a championship. So without him, it did impact us. So again, being able to tell the story of Jacksonville, you include Fred Taylor, but I'll bypass that. The team, right? The reason I'm assuming you don't like the team, or one of the reasons, is because they have been a piss poor franchise. They haven't
Right.
been a franchise that's going to consistently produce top teams, a franchise that's going to be in championship contention every year. Well, if you're a top player on that, if we think about Saquon Barkley, right? You look at Saquon Barkley different on the Giants versus when you look at him on the Philadelphia Eagles, right? So it's just one of those aspects that he was on the Jacksonville Jaguars. He wasn't on the Baltimore Ravens. He wasn't on the Chiefs. He wasn't on the Seattle Seahawks, right? He wasn't on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or whatever team that had a top running back, the St. Louis Rams, when they was running Steven Jackson to the ground, right? So I think that's something to point out is the team that he was on, but he was able to produce at a high level. So let me tell you a couple statistics.
Listen.
One, he's top 20 in overall yards. I want to say he's 15th or 16th, right? So you have a running back that had around 2,500 rushing attempts and is top 20 in overall rushing yards. So let's think about what that means. There's 5 running backs in the top 20 overall rushing yards that have not been named a Hall of Famer. Let me name them to you. Frank Gore is one of them. Adrian Peterson is one of them. Steven Jackson is one of them. And Derrick Henry is one of them. The 5th person is Fred Taylor. Out of those people I just named, who do you believe will not be a Hall of Famer?
Fred Taylor.
So the other 4 you would consider Hall of Famers.
And Steven, you said Steven Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he not gonna be Hall of Fame either.
Yeah, that's the only one who I don't believe will actually be a Hall of Famer. Outside of that, that would be the top 20 all-time rushing leaders that are all Hall of Famers. So that is one reason why I believe Fred Taylor will actually be a Hall of Famer at one point, is that he is the top 20 when it comes to overall rushing yards in the NFL history. The caveat is he's the out of the all 20, there's only one person who actually had less carries than him that had more yards, and that's Jim Brown. So if you think about the top 20 overall rushers in NFL history, Fred Taylor's 15th or 16th, right? 11,600 yards roughly. And he has the least amount of carries to actually accomplish that feat. So that goes back to my point about injuries. I always say if Fred Taylor didn't have those injuries, he actually would have surpassed a lot of these running backs that we see are named top 5 or all-time rushing running back, right? Because we think about the yards. We think about the amount of touchdowns. We think about the team that he was on. if he was actually on a capable team where he was able to stay healthy, I truly believe he would have been an all-time running back, a top 5 all-time running back based on the data, right? The limited amount of carries, but the amount of yards he was able to actually accomplish, which prevents you from getting an all-pro, which prevents you from getting Pro Bowls, right? So I think it all matters in the great scheme of things. But if we just take the overall body of work compared to Terrell Davis, who only had 5 years, 6 years, right? But because of that 5 and 6 years was so great, he was on an all-time team. He's a top running back. But then double his tenure and put him on a worse team, does he still produce at that high level? So I believe you can snapshot a career and say, hey, based on this performance, this dude is a Hall of Famer, and he was able to produce that over a 12-year period, given the injuries. So those are my reasons why I believe he will eventually be a Hall of Famer. He was top 20 in overall rushing yards. There's only one running back that was able to hit that top 20 with less attempts, right? So he had the lowest amount of attempts, and he was on a team that people consider trash, piss poor, a bad run organization, the laughing stock of the NFL, and he was still able to accomplish this. So I do believe over time he will get in. I don't know if it'll be this year, but my dog definitely need to get in that Hall of Fame.
I will say there are only about 23 to 25 running backs in the Hall of Fame to begin with. So that's what I like about the NFL, the Hall of Fame selection process. They don't really let everybody in there. You do have to really deserve to be in the Hall of Fame to be in the Hall of Fame. Not like basketball where they taking college into account and everything else. So, like I said, man, there's nobody on the Hall of Fame list who I think that he should be in over. I mean, I don't know who Paul Hornung is, and I don't know who Floyd Little is, so I can't say the guy don't deserve it. I don't way back in the day type stuff. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
like I said, I do believe it's like a cap on how long they have to get in, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember you saying even this year they only get 5 Hall of Fame people, and if we go through the list this year, does he get in the Hall of Fame this year?
Do you have the list
pulled? This year? Let me pull up the list. This year the is Fred Taylor, Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson, Marshall Yonder, Terrell Suggs, Steve Smith Sr., Eli Manning, Luke Kuechly, Torrey Holt, Antonio Gates, Jahari Evans, Will Anderson, Jared Allen, and Eric Allen. You only get 5 people. So does Fred Taylor get in over? Let me give you my 5 who I say going. Antonio Gates, Terrell Suggs.
Yeah.
You got Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
You got. Listen, I don't think he believe to be in, but I think he gonna get in just because of who he is. Eli Manning, I think he getting in. I don't think he deserves to be in, but I think they're gonna put him in there, right? So let's say him. Then you got Steve Smith and Reggie Wayne. I can't say Fred Taylor, and I just named like 6 people, right? I ain't named Torrey Holt. You know what I'm saying? I ain't say Darren Woodson, Marshall Yonder. Like 5 people, you gonna put him in on that list?
Man, I don't know, man.
Right.
When you start like throwing in people from different positions, it does get a little
right. You only get 5, man.
I don't know about the tenure. Like, hey, is there a certain period of time? I don't believe that's the case.
No, I don't think it is.
But I do believe he's worthy. Again, my key thing is the amount of rushing yards he's had, the least amount of attempts, considering the team, considering the injuries, and considering that the top 20 all-time leading rushers, there's only 5 that have not been named a Hall of Famer. I believe the only one that will not be named a Hall of Famer is Steven Jackson, right? So that means even if he was all the top 20 should be considered Hall of Famers based on that criteria, man. So I hope he gets in. Again, I'm biased. My favorite player. I thought the dude was special. When you think about the league, if you ask players, they'll tell you who Fred Taylor is.
Fred Taylor, if you want to blame anybody for you not being in the Hall of Fame, blame the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
Blame the Jaguars.
All right. Well, it is what it is, man. But shout out Fred Taylor. I believe his birthday was like yesterday or the day before.
Shout out to Fred Taylor, man. I rock with Fred Taylor for real. Just don't, hey.
Okay, I can't tell, man.
I call it like I see it, man. Terrell Davis, salute to him. He deserved to be in there for sure.
For 4 or 5 years, top. Oh, that was my other point too. All them running backs, for the most part, 80% of them, I would say, had a top Hall of Fame, top tier quarterback, man, across the board. So that's something that I believe he was missing as well. That goes back to the Jaguar organization. But I think it is something to be mindful of, man, when you think about overall body of work, what impacts a player and what opportunities did he have and demonstrate success. I thought he did it at a high level when he was there. But we'll see what happens. We'll circle back to
it. We'll see.
Now, given the fact that we're in the NFL playoffs, right? Super Bowl coming up. Next episode, we'll dive completely into the Super Bowl, everything Super Bowl related. But let's talk about basketball, man. I look forward to talking more basketball, but right now we're focused on football. But I do want to talk about Jimmy Butler. So he's going through a unique situation. He's been suspended like 3 times. The dude wants out of Miami. Pat Riley is known as a hardcore president, coach. Whatever role he's in, he hardcore and old school. And they're going through a battle right now. What's a salute for?
Salute to Pat Riley and that old school approach. We need that.
Okay. Let's talk about it. So what's your take right now on the Jimmy Butler Miami Heat situation? What do you believe the outcome would be? And do you think this has impacted him in a negative way?
I definitely believe this has impacted him in a negative way. I think the fact that he hasn't been traded yet is showing that. The reason he in the position he in because he wants another extension. They gave him the extension already. They rewarded him for his work when he got them to the bubble championship. They paid this man. He was old then. So for you to sit here and want another contract extension when your production has dropped, you've shown that as a number one guy, you're not going to lead a team to winning the championship. You can get, you know what I'm saying, the bubble championship is what it is, but then he got back again when they played Denver, right? He got back again. But it's like he always does this. That's the thing about Jimmy Butler. It's not like it's his first time. He did the same thing in Minnesota, and I believe he did the same thing in Philadelphia. When he don't get his way, he start acting crazy. And it's like, dude, people like me and you, we work for real. At no point in time could we come out here and say, if I don't get a raise, which we're not going to get by just doing, I'm not going to show up to work. I'm going to sit here and just goof off and BS around. We're going to get fired. So you're going to have, I have a real hard time connecting with somebody who's making $56 million a year to play a basketball game. And he's mad because he won't get traded to a different team to possibly win a championship. Going to Phoenix, I don't think he's going to make the Phoenix Suns a championship contender anyway, right? So, and even if you want out, man, it's a way you go about doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know any inside information that if him and Pat Riley then came to some type of like disrespectful type issues going on, or is it just more, hey, I want a contract extension, we're not giving you one. Right, but like you said, Pat Riley has the credentials. He has the resume to back up what he want to do. Jimmy Butler, you don't have that resume to back up what you want to do. You ain't won nothing. At the end of the day, and you done been on 4 different teams, and on 4 different teams, you haven't won. On the other 2, you left in ugly fashion. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about Jimmy Butler. Shoot, if I was them, I'd trade him to Portland or somewhere. Like I put him in the dumps. And really, I think this, on another level, as far as the team is concerned, if he want to be mad at anybody, he should be mad at the Portland Trailblazers because Pat Riley them did what they supposed to do. And they could have got Dame Lillard. It's just the Trailblazers wouldn't grant Dame Lillard what he wanted and get him down there. So you can't get mad at Pat Riley and say he ain't put a team around you, any of that stuff. That's more stuff going on with the whole player empowerment stuff, more things. I think your boy got a lot to do with this. What's going on? I'm putting it on him too. I'm putting
you
on
out of control with that, man.
I'm putting on LeBron. All this, they showing you don't really have no power. At the end of the day, you are an employee. If you don't want to perform your job, you will not be paid. Point blank. Period.
Man, you out of control with this LeBron James stuff, bro. Like,
yeah, what it is, man. He's player empowerment. Okay,
you got to get over it, man. Like,
all right.
You got to control with that. I got 2 questions before I share my take on Jimmy Butler.
Right.
One, you saluted Pat Riley. I just want to know more about why you believe his approach is needed in the NBA, and what difference will that make as we move
We
forward?
need it in life, man. We need to bring back old school male principles, man. Like, I don't want to hear you complaining and crying about everything. Like, bro, get it together. Do what needs to be done. Handle your business. Be a professional in a sense. Like, I'm not all for what certain people may say being a professional is, but showing up to work and not being disruptive to everybody around you. Like the report now, like the team are saying, hey, we have a much better time when Jimmy Butler's not around. Right? You can disagree what you want to disagree with when it comes to management and everything, but when you are affecting the morale and chemistry of the team, that's when it's a problem. You're not even looking out for your fellow man. Pat Riley has produced winning in Los Angeles, and everywhere he went, he turned franchises around. He made them. He got them to the finals. He did it everywhere he went. In one stop, he ran into the GOAT and Michael Jordan. He won a championship in Miami before LeBron got there. He was able to maneuver it to get LeBron down to Miami and produce all this what we got going on. Like, come on, man, and think about him. He's been consistent, right? He didn't play favorites with LeBron. He didn't play favorites with Shaq. He didn't play favorites with D Wade. So they both consistent on what they're doing, but he's showing what he's doing is working. I see Gilbert Arenas all talking on that noise about how he ain't the guy. And I'm like, bro, Pat Riley is the Don Dada, bro. He been doing this since the 80s. Making he made the Heat what they are, man. Like, come on, bro. Like, I just can't get with it, man. I salute Pat Riley in that old school approach, and I believe he's an honest guy who has admitted where, hey, my approach sometimes may have been too much, it may have been wrong, but I understand how he was raised, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? But on a higher level, I just think we need that old school male approach to be injected back into the American male society anyway, man. This shit got too soft. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so that's your take on Pat Riley. Thank you. My second question before I go. So you mentioned he should send them to Portland, but in all honesty, like, where should he go? Where do you think, if you could trade him to a great team to make an impact, what team would that be?
What could Jimmy Butler go make an impact? Okay, man, I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like, with the way he has been, I think the only place he could go is somewhere with a culture already established, kind of like Miami, where they won't take that. So pretty much somewhere like the Lakers, where he can go in LA and it's like, if LeBron ain't complaining and throwing fits, you damn sure ain't gonna be complaining and throwing fits. If he goes to the Warriors, right? Steph Curry and Draymond Green, they run that ship. I think Jimmy Butler can't be your number one. He can't be your leader. He has to be like a basketball player. He can be like a rah-rah guy. But if he's your leader, I don't see your team being successful. So send him somewhere with some strong leadership already in place, like LeBron, maybe Steph Curry. But shoot, man, I think on two places. But I think anywhere he might go, he might mess it up. He might go to the Bucks and mess it up. He might go to the Bucks and still mess it up, man. Like,
Okay. Yeah, I just to answer that question first, I would actually like to see him on the Bucks. I think that's the one piece they're missing is a wing defender and somebody who can go and put the ball in the bucket. You got Middleton, he just seems a little older for some reason, he's just a step slower. I'm not sure what it is, and they don't have Drew Holiday. So I believe Jimmy Butler can be a mix of Drew Holiday and Middleton. I don't know what the trade pieces will look like to get him to the Bucks as far as getting value back to the Miami Heat. But I actually think that would be a great pickup to help Damian Lillard push over the top there. And then you got Giannis just with his mentality and how he does things. I think that would actually be a great fit and will motivate him to execute and get back to that D Rose Bulls day. So that's my thought as far as where I would like him to go. If he was on the Lakers, cool, but I think the Bucks would be a good fit. So here's my take when I think about this Jimmy Butler situation, right? The first thing that popped up into my head was who is Jimmy Butler? Now, I don't know Jimmy Butler, right? A lot of stuff is just from the media, but just thinking back to how I was introduced to him, right? And this goes back to my point with Rich Paul in the book that I read. How you view the world has a lot to do with how you were brought up. So if you think about how Jimmy Butler was brought up, his dad left his family when he was an infant, right? So abandonment. Your mom kicks you out the house at 13, right? The only thing that really was his safe haven was basketball, right? So he ended up moving with his basketball teammates, family took him in. From there, he was able to get to, JUCO or some lower level college, shine bright, got into Marquette, shine bright, got drafted by the Bulls into the first round, got on the team with Joakim Noah, leadership, got on the team with a superstar, Derrick Rose, played his role from a defensive standpoint, right? Brought the grit, brought the intensity, brought the all out effort, and made a name for himself to where he was able to be a valuable piece, turn into an actual scorer, develop his game. And then he started to go on that show to where everywhere whatever team he went on, he brought the value, but he also brought that intensity, right? So you think about Minnesota, Carl Towns wasn't really necessarily ready for that, or the city of Minnesota, but he got them to the playoffs. Then he gets to Philadelphia, right? A buzzer beater by Kawhi Leonard, one of the best players at the time, beat Philadelphia, sent Joel, sloppy crying to the locker room. And what did they turn around and do? Pay Tobias Harris. Pay Tobias Harris and let go of Jimmy Butler. So I actually believe that Philadelphia team could have really been something, if they didn't come across Kawhi Leonard, who hit that shot, but also the fact that they decided to pay Tobias Harris, right? So why am I bringing these things up? These abandonment issues, right? Or the way you grew up is how you view the world. So Karl-Anthony Towns didn't have that intensity. So how you viewing them is soft. How you viewing them is that they don't take it as seriously as you, right? And they're not doing the right things and approaching the game the right way. So that creates conflict, right? So then you go to Philadelphia. They pay Tobias Harris. Oh, they don't want to pay me. Oh, they don't see the value in me. So then now you go to Miami. Miami, you producing, right? You win it, or you at least taking a team that you don't necessarily expect to make it to the finals. You bringing them to the finals when it comes to the bubble. You lose to LeBron James. You bringing them to the finals when you're going up against what appears to be the best player this decade in Jokic, right? That's not a matchup. We didn't expect the Heat to win that, but they get there as an AC team, right? They try to compete. He does everything he possibly can, but they just don't have enough. So he does need help. He can't be the number one option when the second and third option is Bam Adebayo, and I love Bam. I think he's a great person, but that can't be your 1B or your second option. And then Tyler Hero, he up and down. He's a good third option when you have two superstars, but that Miami Heat team was overachieving and he needs help. So at least for the efforts that he gave, right, again, you get to a point to where you want a contract extension. You feel like you put in the work. You need a couple of pieces. And again, Pat Riley being the man, the type of man you're talking about, hey, man, you can go. We paid you for your duties. You still on contract. Abandonment, right? So I think all of that just plays into how Jimmy Butler views the world based on his upbringing. He's still growing and still learning, but that's still something how he views the world is impacting him. And I think it impacts how he reacts emotionally in these types of situations. So I do believe it's impacting how people view Jimmy Butler. I don't think this is a good look simply because it was all good just a week ago, right? 2 seasons, out of the past 4 years, if you think about the NBA finals, the Heat was in two of them. Every
And they
media
paid him.
day,
And they paid him.
every media day he's showing up, his funs, his jokes, you know what I'm saying? He emo this time, he got dreadlocks this time, and then now all of a sudden this year, you know what I'm saying?
He
It's an
wants
issue.
something. He don't get what he wants.
Exactly. So I just think it's about how he grew up and how he views the world, and it's just playing out in real time. And that's just something I think we have to keep in mind of how he views the world potentially and how he grew up is impacting how he handles these situations. It's a public situation, and he's just found a match with a man that has a certain consistency, right? That's gonna say, hey man, we ain't paying you. You can go ahead and sit at home. We not paying you. We'll try to figure out a trade deal if possible. but potentially he just missing out on $500,000 a game. So yeah, it's hard to relate to that because it's like, man, $500,000 a game, you willing to just give up because you can't get an extra 100 million or whatever?
At some point in time, bro, like you saying, how he grew up. At some point in time, as a man, you got to grow up. Your lens got to widen. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, Jimmy Butler, our age. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I gotta say, it's just a way you go about it. Like, I'm all for dudes getting their money and contract, but like the way you going about it and the consistency in what you're doing everywhere you go at. Hey man, at a point you get tired of it. Like you say, he made his match with Pat Riley. Pat Riley ain't budging. All right, bro. It ain't gonna happen. If we don't get back what we want, we'll suspend you, we'll cut you or whatever. But you can best believe I'd be shocked if a good team give him what he wants. Like you shooting yourself in the foot at this point. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think it is a bad look. He is on the older side, right? So it's an opportunity for him to just say, hey, let me lock in. Let's see what we can do. And then give him a chance to re-up. Paul George is a great example of that. Paul George is on the back end of his career, but last year, Kawhi is out. He busted his tail. He balled out.
Right.
And somehow got the Philadelphia 76ers to pay him 230, whatever amount of dollars. And them boys not even in the play-in. I don't know what's going on with the 76ers, but Paul George was able to bamboozle them. He was able to rob them in broad daylight.
You gonna rob them.
I mean, he did that to the Clippers as well. Like, he just robbing everybody of their resources, they time, their money, and he ain't producing like a Jimmy Butler, who has brought his team to the finals 2 out of 4 years. So I think it's interesting that somebody like Paul George can get 200 million or whatever it is on a max contract, and you gotta fight for an extension when you bring in your team. I understand he got paid, but Jimmy Butler is still capable, and he's never been the player throughout the season to actually dominate the stat boards. It's when it counts, is when he shows up and you have a fighting chance if he's on your roster. But with the games they're playing right now, it just don't look good for anybody. I'm not sure what this is going to turn out to be as the deadline is next week, but we'll stay tuned. But I do think it's a bad look for him right now, and hopefully he can learn from this moment and how he approaches these situations. And again, people, just think about how you grew up or how you view the world has a lot to do with how you grow up. So just think about how you approach scenarios, reflect on it, and just try to make better decisions, because it can impact you financially and from a perspective of how people view you from the outside in and future opportunities.
Right.
10-4, man. But I'm excited. The playoffs coming to an end, NFL season coming to an end. Next week, we're going to go deep. I always think about saying pause, but I don't be on that. But we're going to go deep on it next week. We got the Philadelphia Eagles. We got the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I feel prophetic. I'm gonna play these clips, man. I'm gonna shoot up some reels. I'm gonna play these clips. I feel prophetic. I called this game. I'm calling the Chiefs to win. We'll see what happens, but we'll talk about it next week. Talk about New Orleans and really just see what happens with this NFL season before we start diving into the NBA season. So we appreciate y'all. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Tell Keezy he a hater in those comments. And, we'll be back next week for the show.
I will respond to all back talk. I will be responding. So y'all come on. Come on. I think y'all cool real decent.
All right. Well, we'll catch y'all next week. We appreciate y'all. And keep going across the bridge.